Anyway, enough of this chit chat, Kieran. I know you're tired, Kieran, because you had to be up very early for the media whoring, as you put it, for our first big story, which we knew the new broadcasting deal was coming, Kieran. But it's proper eye-watering figure, this one, Kieran, and a huge amount of games per season.
Yes. Very strange of the Premier League to announce this at 5 to 6 on a Monday night. Especially as I was in a taxi with the Baroness at the time, and the phone started to go, and I immediately got what can be described as the look, and we both know what the look is like. I said, "What is it, Kieran? The Premier League's got a new record TV deal." And what's it got to do with you? Might be needed. So
that's a great impression.
Yes. Yeah, I've got to confess, I found some of the reporting on this by sort of the Premier League, the way it's been presented, a little bit disingenuous. It says it's a record deal of £6.7 million, so £6.7 billion over 4 years, and that is a record amount. But the previous deals have been over 3 years. So if I sell you one apple for £3 and I sell you 2 apples for £5, it's a record amount in terms of apple sales, but the price per apple has gone down. And as a result of this deal, Premier League clubs will be generating less money from the broadcast partners in 2030 than they will have been generating in 2016-17. So over a course of 13 to 14 years, the domestic rights have effectively flatlined. And again, it's gone up by 4%, but you're ignoring the fact that the last deal was down by 10%. So don't try to tell us it's a record amount. And you're absolutely right, Kevin, to say that it's a record number of matches. And I've got to say, this is a fantastic deal for Sky. Sky is very much going to position itself as, and I think it's wanted to do this, but this sort of Sky is going to be the home for football with regards to live broadcasting of matches. So the Premier League had 7 packages which it sold in the current round, and as we know, Amazon have sort of little amounts. They get some just the current fixtures which are taking place, and the ones which take place just after Christmas, they're allocated to Amazon. And Amazon loves that to bits because it gets people into their ecosystem at the time when they're buying Christmas presents, and it's on with the Christmas sale. So it's absolutely perfect for Amazon, but they were paying a pittance for their rights. And the reason for this was the Premier League wanted to go to the streaming companies, the likes of Amazon, Netflix, potentially Apple TV, Facebook, and so on, and say, look, we've got this absolutely amazing product. Do you fancy dipping your toe into it? So Amazon did, but it's not going to go any further. And I think it's notable that we're not going to have any streaming services involved in football now until the end of the decade. Remember that a couple of years ago there was all this talk about Premflix and the Premier League taking over control. All of that, it's as if it's that discussion has never taken place. So we now have a position in which every single match which does not take place at 3 o'clock on a Saturday will be available for the armchair viewer. So I think that makes a lot of sense. People are saying, well, there's a lot more matches being broadcast. Why have they not managed to get a lot more money? And I think this is an acknowledgement that I'm going to see Brighton versus Brentford tonight. It's not going to generate a lot of outside interest. You have to be honest. And if therefore all of the clubs who are playing in Europe on a Thursday, you tend to have 3 or 4 matches kicking off at 2 o'clock on a Sunday. Only one of those was being broadcast historically. All that's going to happen is, I suspect, the same number of people who'll be watching football, but the same number of people spread over 4 matches instead of 1. If football's on, you or I, we watch it. Well, we don't really, if it's on, we're not particularly bothered. Don't make an extra effort to watch it necessarily, but we'll watch it regardless. So I think from Sky's point of view, they could legitimately say, we're not willing to pay any more money because we don't think we're going to get an uptick in viewers. So it's a fantastic deal for Sky. TNT, I spoke to our friend, the secret broadcaster, on Monday evening, and he, she, or it replied to me, TNT, they've got the runt of the litter, because they've got 12:30 on a Saturday, and 12:30 on a Saturday. I think that is the way of describing it, because you have to make that much more effort. You'll often be at the Parsons. Palace are playing at home at 3:00. You might be looking at it on the background if it's on, if you're somewhere, but it's not critical. If you look at the attendances there's never much of an atmosphere in those particular matches because people have had to get up early and so on. And TNT, I think they've also got a couple of midweek sets of fixtures, so they're still involved. People again have been asking, well, why didn't Sky end up with all of the packages? They're not allowed to have all 5 packages. This comes effectively from the Competition and Markets Authority, or what we used to refer to as the Monopoly and Mergers Competition. You don't want all of Premier League football available to a single party. So fantastic deal for Sky. They were paying £10 million a match. That's dropped to around about 6.5. So they've got more matches for the same amount of money. Could it be good news for viewers? Yeah, you get a bit more choice, which is good. If Sky aren't paying any more than they were in 2016, we've just seen the government announce that the TV licence fee is going to be frozen. I think there's a good case for Sky for saying, well, because we're not paying any more money, we're going to freeze our subscription fees for Sky Sports for the rest of the decade. I think that would be really good for viewers if that does come about, because if they don't, they risk losing people to Fire Sticks, and you have to be honest. That is the elephant in the room when it comes to broadcast.
So, just to clarify a couple of points, Kieran, because I watched the Luton Arsenal game last night on Amazon. I watched 94 minutes of the Luton Arsenal game on Amazon because I decided this game is effectively over, and there's an Anne Boleyn documentary I hadn't watched for some time. So I switched to that. Cut to me looking at my phone 20 minutes later. So just to clarify, so it's only Premier League football will only be available on TNT and Sky.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So they've narrowed it down. It's because there were only 5 packages as opposed to 7. I think Amazon were paying something like £20 million for 20 matches. £1 million a match, which is a fantastic deal for them. But the Premier League's decided to get rid of that. They seem happy. I think it's actually it's a good deal. It's not a great deal from the Premier League's point of view, in the sense that the money's not gone down, and we've seen in France the bidders didn't meet the reserve price. There's no sign of any increase in Italy, in Germany, and Spain. So the broadcasters have effectively put their foot down. They've said, we can't increase subscription fees because we fear people will switch off or they will switch to other alternative means. We've got the two providers, and in a sense that's good, because if you wanted to watch as many matches as you could, you needed to have an Amazon Prime, TNT, and a Sky. So at least you only now need to have 2 instead of 3.
Well, I suppose in a way there's 3 providers, Kieran, because does this deal confirm that the BBC will be showing highlights for the rest of this decade, essentially? Yes.
So in terms of free to air, the BBC has retained those rights. You and I, we both go back to. I first saw my first match of the day, 1969-70. So I think we've still got that affection for match of the day, even though I've already seen get the goals on YouTube, because Sky put them on YouTube now. There's still something to me a little bit special about match of the day. I bet that could be the fact that I'm just getting on a bit.
Yep. I love match of the day. I've worked at it for 10 years.
Yes,
it's always a very special place in my heart. The TNT thing, Palace Liverpool on Saturday is the 12:30 kickoff on TNT, or as they keep saying this week, their traditional 12:30 kickoff because they had a Saturday evening game last week and they were humpty about it all the way through. And as you say, TNT can talk about their traditional 12:30 kickoff as much as they want. I suspect that Selhurst Park, for the first time in a long time, may not be full for a Palace-Liverpool game, partly because it's a train strike and partly because it is that 12:30 kickoff, which fans don't seem to like. And as you say, you tend to... I only ever watch those games. If I'm at home, I don't watch that 12:30 kickoff. And if I'm in the Paulsons, I'll look up when somebody cheers because there's a goal score. But I was at, in terms of the amount of games spread across Sky and TNT, no matter what they're on, I was at a meeting yesterday at the foundation at Palace, and there's some unease from a couple of the people from the actual club about, times are financially difficult. It's getting harder and harder each week to fill stadiums for clubs outside the top 6 and 7. You only had to look at the Wolves-Burnley game last night, and the stadium was far from full. It will be a sellout because a lot of those are season tickets. I suspect Palace-Bournemouth tonight will be far from full for various reasons, but I think there is some unease from the clubs outside of the traditional top 6, 7 that this is yet another assault because we know, yes, they have to show a certain amount of Palace, Brentford, Sheffield United games, but we know that the most attractive games are games that are likely to be competing for Palace fans' eyeballs, essentially.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's not just Palace fans' eyeballs; it's eyeballs of fans from EFL clubs, National League, and further down the pyramid.
Absolutely.
The blackout at 3 p.m. on a Saturday has been maintained, and I think there was thought, and it's been interesting observing the debate that's taking place on social media. I think those fans who, and I'm not going to dig them, those fans that support clubs but don't actually go to matches, sort of the more casual fan, or and they will say, well, I'm just as dedicated to my club as the people that do attend. They say, well, we want the 3 p.m. blackout to be lifted as well. I think that would have a detrimental impact. And there's a further issue, which is a story which we're coming to, is that with all of these matches now taking place at weekends, which are going to be broadcast, where does it leave women's football in terms of accessibility, and where does it leave Scottish football in terms of finding those slots in terms of broadcast? So again, there's been quite a hostile reaction from Scottish fans saying, why is English football getting so much money compared to the Scottish League? It's because the Premier League delivers in terms of viewing figures, and therefore it will always take priority. So there is a lot taking place there, and I think clubs are going to have to work harder. Some clubs are a bit complacent that we will turn up week in, week out. We were recording this early on Wednesday afternoon. I'm going to Brighton versus Brentford tonight. There will be significant gaps.
Yeah,
because we've got a rail strike, and the only way you can get to the ground is effectively by rail. So I think there'll be noticeable gaps, which is a shame. And the rail strike. I respect Avles's position as an entitlement to strike, but it's impacting upon fans. If it's live on television, would you go and pay 30, 35 quid for a ticket? No, simple as that.